Arsenal is in big trouble and every fan needs to know this right now. Let us be honest with each other for a moment. If you are an Arsenal fan, the last few weeks have been nothing short of painful. You watched your team win the Carabao Cup. You saw them knock out Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League. You started to believe maybe this is finally the year, maybe this is the season Arsenal lifts that Premier League title and ends all those years of waiting. And then the international break arrived and it felt like someone turned off the lights. One injury, then another, then another. Before anyone had time to process what was happening, Arsenal were sitting with 12 players either injured or doubtful. 12, that is not a setback, that is a full-blown crisis. And the worst part, the most important stretch of the season is just around the corner. So let us sit down, talk through every single injured player, what we know, what we do not know, and what this all means for Arsenal's title hopes. Because if you support the Gunners, you need to know exactly what Mikel Arteta is dealing with right now. How did we even get here? The international break is supposed to be a time for players to rest, represent their countries, and come back fresh and ready to go. That is the idea anyway. For Arsenal this month, it has been the complete opposite. Players left for their national teams and one by one, they started dropping out with injuries. Some were small knocks, some were more serious, some we still do not fully understand yet because the clubs are being very careful about what information they release. But here is what we do know. By the time the dust settled after this international break, Arsenal had 12 players who were either definitely out or major doubts for upcoming fixtures. That is almost an entire starting 11 plus one more player on top of it. Think about that for a second. Arteta could barely field a full team with the players he knows are fit right now. And with 5 matches coming up in just 15 days after the break, the squad is going to be stretched to its absolute limit. So who are these 12 players and what happened to them? Let us go through each one. Martin Zubimendi and the knee that scared everyone. Let us start with the most recent one because this one landed like a punch in the stomach for Arsenal fans. Martin Zubimendi, the Spanish midfielder who arrived at Arsenal and quickly became one of the most important players in the squad. His ability to read the game, win the ball back and keep everything ticking over in the middle of the park had made him a player Arsenal simply could not do without. And then came the news that everyone feared. The Spanish Football Association released a statement saying that Zubimendi had withdrawn from the Spain national team camp because of discomfort in his right knee. The statement said the decision was made to avoid any risk and to protect the player's health, and that Arsenal's medical staff had been told about the situation. Now, here is the question every Arsenal fan is asking right now. How serious is it? The honest answer is that we do not know. The Spanish FA did not give any specific information about the injury beyond saying it was discomfort. But when a player pulls out of international duty because of knee discomfort and no return date is given, you have to be worried. Zubimendi has been central to everything Arsenal have done this season, and losing him at this point would be a massive blow. Right now, his return date is listed as unknown, and unknown is never a word you want to see next to a key player's name when the title race is heating up. Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka both out at the same time. Now, this one was particularly cruel. Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka both arrived at the England camp on Friday. Just a day later, both of them had already been sent back to Arsenal for medical assessment. One day. They were barely there. The Football Association put out a short statement confirming that both players would be returning to Arsenal, but they did not go into detail about what was wrong with either of them. Thomas Tuchel, the England manager, was asked about the situation and said it was too early to give a full picture, adding that not everyone who came into the squad was fully fit. For Arsenal fans, this raises a very important question. Were Rice and Saka already carrying knocks before the international break? Were they managing discomfort from the end of the club season so far? And if so, how long has this been going on without us knowing? Both players are absolutely vital to the way Arsenal play. Rice is the engine in midfield, the one who does the dirty work and allows the more creative players around him to do their thing. And Saka is, well, Saka, the heart of the team, the player defender's dread-facing, the man who makes everything happen down the right side. The fact that neither of them has a confirmed return date is genuinely alarming, especially with so many games coming up so quickly. What happened to Noni Madueke? Noni Madueke joined Arsenal and immediately showed why they brought him in. Pace, skill, goals, he had the lot, but his time at the club has already been interrupted by injury once this season, when he missed 15 matches earlier in the campaign with a knee problem, and now there are fresh worries about him. During a match for England on Friday, Madueke was substituted off, and the footage of him leaving the stadium told a story that no one wanted to see. He was walking out of the ground wearing a brace on his left leg. His face said everything, he looked upset. He looked frustrated. He looked like a man who knows something is wrong. England described it as a knock, which is the kind of word that can mean anything from a small bruise to something much more serious. Tuchel was cagey when asked about it, saying late decisions would be taken about the squad for the next match. For Arsenal, the immediate concern is obvious. Madueke has already had one significant knee injury this season. Seeing him in a brace on his left leg and heading home early from the England camp is not something you can brush off. His return date is listed as unknown. Given what he went through earlier this season, that uncertainty feels especially heavy. The Eberechi Eze situation is probably the clearest, but still painful. If there is one injury in this whole list where we at least know a bit more about the timeline, it is Eberechi Eze. Eze picked up a calf injury during Arsenal's Champions League win over Bayer Leverkusen earlier this month. He missed the Carabao Cup final as a result and has now pulled out of the England squad entirely. The news that has come out suggests that Eze could be unavailable for around 4 to 6 weeks. That means his potential return date is somewhere in late April or early May. Now let us think about what that actually means. Arsenal have 5 matches in just 15 days after the international break. If Eze is out for 4 to 6 weeks, he misses all of those. He could potentially come back near the end of that run if things go well, but realistically, he is likely to miss a significant chunk of the most important weeks of the season. Here is a question worth thinking about. How much has Eze meant to Arsenal's attack this season? He came in and added a new dimension. His ability to get past players in tight spaces and create chances from nothing gave Arsenal something different, something opponents struggle to plan for. Losing that for a month during the business end of the season is a genuine problem. The positive, if you can call it that, is at least we have some idea of when he might be back. Unlike some of the other players on this list where we are completely in the dark. William Saliba and the ankle problem. William Saliba is one of the best defenders in the Premier League. That is not an opinion anymore. It is just a fact that most people who follow football accept without argument. His reading of the game, his composure, his ability to deal with almost any striker thrown at him, it has made him an irreplaceable part of Arsenal's defence. So when the news came through that he had withdrawn from the France squad because of recurring pain in his left ankle, it obviously raised eyebrows. The French Football Federation put out a statement explaining that Saliba was unable to join the national team camp and was dealing with recurring pain in his left ankle. They said it required treatment and a minimum rest period of 10 days. Here is the slightly more encouraging part. If France's assessment of 10 days of rest is accurate, Saliba should be fit to return for Arsenal's FA Cup tie against Southampton on April 4th. That is the potential return date being talked about right now. But the word recurring in that statement is worth paying attention to. This is not a brand new injury. It is an ankle problem that has come back. That means there is a possibility it could flare up again even after he returns, and Arsenal need to be careful about how they manage him over the coming weeks. Still, compared to some of the other situations on this list, the idea that Saliba could be back in around a week is relatively good news. Gabriel Magalhães and his right knee Brazil's Football Federation released a statement during the international break confirming that Gabriel Magalhães would not be playing for his national team. The reason, pain in his right knee. The statement also mentioned that scans had identified an injury to the 28-year-old centre-back. This one is particularly worrying because of the detail in that statement. Scans identifying an injury is different from just saying a player is managing some discomfort. That language suggests something specific has shown up on the medical imaging, which means this could take time to fully settle down. Gabriel has been one of Arsenal's most important defensive players for several seasons now. He brings physical presence, leadership and quality on the ball that makes him very difficult to replace. Losing both him and Saliba at the same time, even for a short period, would leave Arsenal's defensive options looking very thin. His return date right now is listed as unknown. There is no timeline being given publicly, and until Arsenal's medical team releases more information, we are all just going to have to wait and see. Jurrien Timber and the Everton injury. Jurrien Timber has had a tough time staying healthy since joining Arsenal. After missing most of his first season through injury, he had finally established himself as a genuine option across the back line, capable of playing in multiple positions and doing a good job wherever he was asked. Then came the match against Everton earlier this month, and Timber picked up an injury that has ruled him out ever since. He withdrew from the Netherlands squad for their friendlies against Norway and Ecuador, with the Dutch FA confirming he had not yet sufficiently recovered from his injury. Arteta said before the international break that Timber would be assessed after the hiatus. The slightly hopeful news is that his potential return date is being listed as the FA Cup tie against Southampton on April 4th, the same game where Saliba might return. That would at least mean both defenders are potentially available for that match, which would be a welcome boost. But Timber's injury history means Arsenal fans are right to be cautious. This is a player who has already missed huge chunks of football since arriving at the club, and every time he seems to be finding his feet, something else seems to happen. Piero Hincapié, the newest arrival and an early scare. Piero Hincapié is still relatively new to Arsenal fans, but the 24-year-old defender has already started to show why the club brought him in. He was part of the Ecuador squad for their friendly against Morocco and actually played the majority of that game before being replaced in the final 15 minutes. Then came the news that he would be withdrawing from Ecuador's squad for their match against the Netherlands. He has returned to Arsenal, but the extent of the injury is still not clear. At 24 years old, Hincapié has a lot to offer Arsenal. His pace and energy in defence give Arteta options, and losing him before he has even had a chance to fully settle in would be an early blow to those plans. His return date is unknown, and without more information about what exactly happened, it is hard to say how serious this one is. Leandro Trossard and the hip issue. Leandro Trossard is another player who pulls out of the Belgium squad, this time with a hip injury. Belgium were playing games against the USA and Mexico, and Trossard was not fit enough to take part. The Belgian Football Association said in their statement that the decision would allow him to continue his rehabilitation under optimal conditions. The word rehabilitation is interesting there because it suggests this is not a brand new injury, but something that has been being treated already. Trossard has been a versatile and useful member of Arsenal's squad, capable of playing in multiple positions and often popping up with important contributions. Losing him adds to the pile of attacking options that Arteta is currently without. Return date is listed as unknown. Martin Odegaard still waiting. And then there is Martin Odegaard, the captain, the leader, the player who makes Arsenal tick when he is at his best. Odegaard missed the Carabao Cup final last weekend because of a knee injury. He had already been absent for about a month at that point. And as things stand, there is still uncertainty about whether he will be fit for the FA Cup tie against Southampton. Think about what this means in terms of the bigger picture. Arsenal have been managing a season without their captain for a significant period. They won the Carabao Cup without him, which shows the squad's strength and depth. But the league title is a different challenge entirely. It requires consistency over 38 games, and losing your captain for a month during the run-in is a serious handicap. Odegaard's return date is listed as unknown. What about Mikel Merino? Mikel Merino's situation is slightly different from the others on this list. It appears that while Merino is expected to be fit enough to represent Spain at this summer's World Cup, his involvement with Arsenal for the rest of this season looks like it might already be over. The midfielder had been dealing with an ankle issue, and the current assessment seems to be that his season in a Gunners shirt is finished. That is a significant loss when you think about how Merino had contributed since arriving at the club. His ability to carry the ball forward from deep positions and his physical presence in midfield gave Arsenal something different, and not having him available for the final weeks of the campaign is another thing Arteta has to manage. So what does this all mean for the title race? Let us step back and look at the big picture. Arsenal are in the middle of a title race. They have games coming thick and fast. They face 5 matches in 15 days once the international break ends. Those matches are going to be physically demanding, tactically challenging, and absolutely crucial in terms of where they finish the season. And they are going into that run of fixtures potentially without Odegaard, Rice, Saka, Zubimendi, Gabriel, Eze, Trossard, Madueke, Merino, and with question marks over Hincapié, Timber, and Saliba. The question is simple but not easy to answer. Can Arsenal still win the title with all of this going on? Here is what we know. Arteta is a smart manager. He has dealt with injury crises before and found ways to get results. The squad, despite all of these problems, still has quality players in it who can step up and deliver. And the mentality that Arsenal have shown over the last few seasons suggests they will not just roll over and accept defeat. But here is what we also know. No team can lose this many players in one go and not feel the effects. Injuries to key players in central midfield, defence and attack all at the same time are going to create problems that even the best manager in the world cannot fully solve. Tactics can only compensate for so much. The next few weeks are going to test Arsenal and their fans in ways that few of us probably expected coming into this international break. What should Arsenal fans be doing right now? This is a question worth sitting with for a moment. It is very easy when things go wrong to panic, to look at the injury list and immediately assume the worst, to start writing off the season before a single ball has been kicked in the final run of matches. But is that really what being an Arsenal fan is about? The fans who follow this club through everything, through the good years and the hard years, through the near misses and the glorious moments, they know that football does not always follow the script you write in your head. Sometimes the best teams find ways to win in the most difficult circumstances. Sometimes the players who are waiting in the wings step into the spotlight and become the heroes no one expected. Could this be one of those moments? Could a young player nobody is talking about right now be about to have the game of their life and remind everyone that Arsenal's squad goes deeper than just the 12 names on the injury list? It is possible, and that possibility is exactly why you do not give up on your team when things get hard. The next few weeks are going to define this season. Here is the truth about where Arsenal are right now. Everything they have worked for this season, all the wins, all the effort, all the quality they have shown, it all comes down to what happens in the next month or so. The Carabao Cup is already theirs. That trophy is in the cabinet and nobody can take it away. But the league title, the one that this club has been chasing for so long, is still up for grabs. And while the injury list looks scary right now, until the last ball is kicked, nothing is decided. Mikel Arteta will have to be at his absolute best as a manager. The players who are fit will have to give everything they have, and the ones who are recovering will have to work as hard as possible to get back as quickly as they safely can. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. Is it still possible? Yes, it is, and that is what you hold on to as an Arsenal fan right now. Not the fear, not the worry, not the long list of names that are sitting in the treatment room. You hold on to the possibility, you hold on to the belief that this team has shown again and again that they are capable of doing something special. The games are coming, the players who are fit will pull on the red and white shirt and go out there and compete. And wherever you are watching from, your job as a fan is to be behind them every single step of the way, because that is what this community is about. That is what following Arsenal is about. Not just celebrating when everything goes right, but standing together when things get hard and refusing to give up on the team you love. Arsenal, together, let us go and do this. We would love to hear from you. Which of these injuries worries you the most heading into the final stretch of the season? Do you think Arsenal can still win the title with this many players out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let the conversation flow. This is Olivia Sports Arsenal community, and every voice here matters. Share this post with a fellow Gunner and let them know what is going on. They need to read this.